name is Lucifer, and you have a cat named Lilith. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Straight Outta BS podcast. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. Please continue sharing the videos, liking them, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and just share the videos. Let's keep on getting the word out there about these places and save these children still inside of them, because children are still being tortured and mentally and physically to this day in these places. So getting this information out there is really important. I want to thank all my Patreon members. Anybody that's donated to the podcast is never expected. It's always super appreciated. Anybody that has bought merch or anything like that, I super appreciate it. Links are in the description for that. If you're interested, I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with intrusive thoughts or addiction. So on the count of three, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what year.
Hey, my name's John. I went to Rocky Mountain Academy in Bonners Ferry, Idaho. I got there in January 1990, and I escaped in approximately May of 1991.
Okay, and walk us through what was going on at home, like before you got sent away, and what led up to you being sent away.
Well, the short version is that my mother was going through menopause at approximately the same age that I was going through puberty. Not a good mix, really. I'm adopted. She and my father were both like multiple PhDs. And so I was homeschooled, which means I didn't really get a lot of, and my mom was a control freak on top of it. So there was a lot of clash between me and my mom. It got physical on a couple of occasions. She would hit me. I got to an age where I would hit her back. Mm-hmm. You know, it was pretty bad. At one point, I just walked away from the house and I went to this place called The Bridge. Supposedly about family counseling or whatever, and I was just like, my mother's crazily physically abusive. I can't stay there anymore. And so I was put in a mental hospital for about 2 months. And then over Christmas, I remember, then they took me to Rocky Mountain Academy. Took me to Rocky Mountain Academy in early January, like after the holidays. And that was that. Like, you don't want to live at home? Fine, be here.
Okay. And were you or did you know you were going to go to Rocky Mountain Academy before you went? Did you see any brochures or anything like that? Did they show you?
I think I might have glanced at a brochure, but honestly, like, the mental hospital thing was not working for me at all. I mean, it really did literally make me crazier, kind of. Like, I was more sort of desperate feeling, I remember, when they took me up there. I knew where I was going. I didn't have any delusions about going home. I didn't want to go home. Like, yeah. It was too much. I didn't know anything about what Rocky Mountain Academy was going to be like. I was pretty sure it wasn't going to be pleasant because my mom was all for it. But I didn't have any details about what kind of unpleasantness would be involved at all, no.
Okay. When you went to the mental hospital, was that like a 5150 kind of situation where you were against your will, or was it voluntary?
Okay, so it was kind of a blend of both. Okay. When I went to the bridge, it was supposedly, come over here, little boy, these people will help you. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I can't leave? Oh, okay. Like I'm on lockdown. Okay. Like, I mean, I didn't have any experience whatsoever in that kind of thing. So I had no idea what really was going on, honestly.
Okay.
Like, I guess, I mean, I knew where I was going, but I didn't know what it was going to be like, put it that way.
So it sounds like you weren't able to leave, so probably against your will then. You probably didn't know enough about the place to voluntarily go there, correct? It was more of like your parents deciding? Okay.
It was not a case of informed consent, put it that way. I just was like, I had to be somewhere, and, that's the place they picked, and I really didn't have any say in the matter.
Okay. Okay. And were you transported there, or did your parents bring you there? Walk us through that.
No, my parents brought me up there.
Okay.
I went with them willingly, yeah.
Okay. What do you remember about the trip up there?
It was completely uneventful. I remember laughing my ass off driving towards Rocky Mountain Academy because there was a place on the way called Hyak, Y-A-A-K. And I just fucking laughed about that for about 30 miles and drove everybody crazy. The stupidest place name I'd ever heard of.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
And it kind of accurately described the environment. It was like, yeah, wow, yeah, that's not even a word, and it describes this place perfectly. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's coming from the Bay Area too, so it was not like the Bay Area.
Yeah. Where was this place located?
In the Panhandle of Idaho, about a figurative stone's throw from the Canadian border.
Okay.
In the Panhandle of Idaho.
Okay.
About maybe 90 minutes from Spokane, maybe 4 hours from Seattle.
Okay. Okay. And what do you remember about when you first got there? Do you remember them buddying you up with anybody? Do you remember them going over the rules with you? Do you remember them giving you anything physical in regards to the rules?
I remember them checking my asshole for contraband. That was a thing. That had never happened to me before. I remember them telling me, okay, so these are the rules. We call them agreements here, and you agree to them by being here, which I thought was interesting because I'd never in my entire life heard of a default contract of this type before. Mm-hmm. No sex, no drugs, and no violence. Those are the three agreements that they explained to me. They did not explain to me any of the myriad of other freaking weird shit that was like later to be discovered. But they didn't. I mean, I'm a musician. I played an instrument since I was 4 years old, mm-hmm. And I didn't say anything about all the music stuff or any of that shit. I guess they told me I couldn't smoke, which didn't throw me. But I sort of figured there'd be a way around that because there usually is. Somebody have a cigarette. I really didn't get it. Like, I was just kind of like, okay, weirdos. Like, they paired me up with some people that who I don't honestly remember. You have to remember also, this is a really long time ago. I just turned 50, and at the time I was, I think, 15?
Okay.
14. I was 14. I was 14. So it was a really long time ago. There's a lot of little details I'm not going to remember. But yeah, they paired me up with some people who promptly ignored me the minute my parents left. They went through all my stuff, gave me some really uncomfortable, weird clothes, and I just was like, okay. I got in trouble really, really, really fast. I still don't think it was especially fair because I didn't actually do anything other than not rat on somebody for doing something that it had never occurred to me could be against the rules. Mm-hmm. So like this girl named Judy, who had also just recently arrived there, like within a couple of days. I was walking around kind of exploring stuff. It's outdoor kind of like woodsy stuff. So I walked by this rope swing, like with, plank on two boards hanging from a branch. And she's like sitting there scratching on her ankle with like a little, little twig or something, like a sharp twig. Mm-hmm. And, it looks red, it looks irritated, it's bleeding a little bit, but I mean, not, oh, she's about to bleed to death on the swing or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what are you doing to your ankle? And she's like, oh, I'm scratching my boyfriend's initials because I miss him so much. I was like, whatever, bitch. Like, I mean, I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't strike me as anything. I mean, stupid, but it wasn't like life-threatening or dangerous or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just sort of was like, whatever, and I completely, utterly, immediately forgot about it. Like the idea of running and catching some staff member, Judy's self-harming, like it never occurred to me. You got to remember, I was homeschooled, so I didn't have a lot of experience with other people.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, you're doing that. That's your business. And I forgot about it for like, I don't know, a week. And then in a wrap, like a week later, one of the staff was like, Judy's crying and getting into her feelings about scratching her boyfriend's name on her ankle. Who else knew about this? And my name came up, and I was like, what? What do you mean? Oh, that? Like, it was not an emergent, like, threat, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They put me on a booth restriction for, like, 3 weeks for that, which really sucked.
And what is booth restriction, for those who don't know?
Okay, so there's a variety of happy-ass restrictions or punishments or whatever. Basically, the format for a booth restriction is it's not quite a full-time. A full-time is like this really big hairy deal where like you can't laugh, smile, or sing. You're on bands from everybody, and you just basically like break rocks all day with a pick or cut wood or dig a hole and like build walls and physical labor. You do that like 8 to 9 hours a day. You have raps 3 times a week, so you don't work during the afternoon. They're 3 hours long, and the rest of the time you sit at the booth and do a writing assignment like, why I am such a shitty person, or what my little kid had for lunch on Wednesday, or just stupid emotional growth shit, really. When they sit down and they tell you like, it's basically like full-time brainwashing with no break, reinforced by repetitive shit and being screamed at during the raps. And there's all kinds of programs all over the world that are designed to like, break you down and build you up. But they just did the breaking down. I didn't see a whole fuck ton of building back up. Is the problem?
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like the booth was your equivalent to what our study hall or worksheets was, which our study hall worksheets was essentially you would sit there and write sentences over and over again.
Oh, wow.
So you wrote you'd have to write like 3,000 sentences or whatever, or however many they.
And it would be like writing lines, like when you did something bad, like
Yeah.
I will not blah 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 or whatever, or I will not use the word dude, fucking, my drug dealer is not here or some shit like that. Yeah, totally, I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Where did you go, if you don't mind my asking?
I went to a place called Spring Creek Lodge Academy in Thompson Falls, Montana, and I was there 22 months.
Right on. Yeah, I heard of that place. I heard it sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, we made it out alive, so that's one thing. How long were you there?
I suppose. Well, I got there in January. I was definitely there for a year, and then probably another 4 or 5 months. So 17, 18 months, something like that.
Okay. And was your program a points and levels program, or was it kind of just distinguished on when they decided you were ready to move up in the levels, or were there levels?
There were levels, but they were called families.
Okay.
And ran at the time, although this changed later. There was they changed it to teams and a whole bunch of shit later that I don't really know the specifics of. At the time, there were families. The first family was Voyagers. So it went Voyagers, Discovery, Quest, Challenge, New Horizons, Summit.
Okay.
So those, and they were each about somewhere between 3 and 6 months long, depending on the student. On very rare occasions, and there were also peer groups. And the peer groups, they weren't all, it was all very individual. They didn't move an entire peer group up from, say, Voyagers to Discovery, say, at the very beginning. They wouldn't do it all at the same time. They'd do it over about 6 weeks that everybody would move up. If somebody was really being a schmuck, they'd be held back and be screamed at about that. Like, you're not, and then eventually you'd get your shit together, or snot particularly hard in a rap, and then they fucking, move you up or whatever. It was, just another kind of I was peer group 37, which I heard after I left, right after I left, they combined it with peer group 30, either the one before or the one after, I can't remember which, but they combined them together.
Okay, so it was more so the staff would choose when you were ready.
Yeah, they were family heads. There would be like a family head and then like a support staff. Every family had 2 or 3 other dedicated people. Okay.
And was there schooling there? Did you guys do schooling at all?
That is entirely possible, but not for me. We did not do anything academic, really, that I can remember. I think that there was some shit. I remember we were given the ACT cold at one point. Here, take the ACT. And I was like, okay. And I got the highest score, I guess, in the school, which I thought was hilarious because I had not done anything even remotely academic for a year at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I think I took it when I was in the Challenge family. I went up, I got all the way up to New Horizons before I decided that I'd had enough. And left. And didn't come back.
Okay.
Except to get my friend. I mean, that's one of the reasons, I don't know, there's people, I'm not super active in the community or whatever, but I mean, the people that were there around the same time I was there, like, they're like, yeah, that's the guy that decided he was going to leave, left, and then came back 3 months later armed for his best friend, and left with him too.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, that was see the whole dirt or like ratting thing was really weird because like I didn't when I left it was mostly on a whim. I just like was walking. They put me on a booth restriction or a pit restriction rather. Where the pit is just another area where there's more social, there's more people around. You're not in trouble. You're just stagnating or not working your program. So when you're not in doing whatever you have to like sit there and do the writing assignments thing. It's a mellower version of the booth restriction.
Okay.
So they put me on that right after they moved me into the New Horizons family, which is the family before the Summit family. So like at 18 months, I was starting to like cast an eye towards, the last 2 workshops and home, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put me on that. You're stagnating. I had a real issue with crying. Their current tears were currency in that motherfucker, man. Like if you could like cry or like convincingly like babble about what my little kid never fucking blah, and my parents, and I was just like, I'm not that guy. I'm sorry. No. I mean, it takes a lot to get me to that point, even in private. And I just was like you ever like been in a situation where you just have no choice but to like piss in front of somebody and like whip your dick out and you're just like piss and your dick is like no.
Yeah.
Say like shy emotional bladder kind of.
Yeah. I totally get that.
I'm not breaking down and snotting all over myself and weeping like uncontrollably in front of a bunch of motherfuckers that don't like me that I don't even really know.
Yeah. No, I totally get it.
That's weird to me. That's always been weird to me. So that was a major sticking point because everybody around me, there were like, workshops and raps and shit where everybody would be crying and like hugging and just doing this emotive, fucking performative, fucking emotional bullshit. And I'm just like, oh, this is fucking weird, man. Like I just never, like I didn't really judge any of my peers for it exactly because I was jealous. I wished I could do that on command.
Yeah.
Like some of them, because they got like basically like, gold stars and oatmeal cookies for fucking doing that shit when they on command, and I could not do it convincingly. I mean, there were times where I faked crying. I got caught a couple of times. I'm not a very like expressively emotional person. I have feelings, but it takes like a cataclysm to like bring them out of me in front of other people, except for anger because I'm an American male. But whatever,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't break the world. I was this way when they found me. So like that's why they put me on the pit because I was a New Horizons, but I wasn't working my program. But they were going to really break me now. And I guess it's coming like a fucking freight train, and I was just like, oh God, And I was in upper school, and I wasn't really in serious trouble. It was like I didn't do anything wrong. They just wanted me to work harder at whatever. So I got to walk myself up and down to the dorm without an escort because not really in trouble. And I just kept walking. Like, I mean, I went inside, I was like, I'm out of here. Went inside, grabbed a coat, just kept walking. I just left. Fucking, I didn't want to do that anymore.
Where did you go?
Well, I walked to Sandpoint, which was about 30 miles away. And I walked, I didn't really know how to get to Sandpoint specifically. But I figured what I would do is there's only really one road, and I knew they would be looking for me on the road, but there was woods on both sides of the road, and you could see the road from the woods, but you couldn't see the inside the woods from the road, really.
Yeah.
I figured if I walked about, 300 feet in and just followed the road, then I wouldn't get lost and they wouldn't see me. So that's what I did.
And they never caught you. They
They probably would have if I tried to hitchhike. I saw some of the school's cars going up and down and up and down, but they couldn't see me.
Okay. So what did you do when you got to Sandpoint?
When I got to Sandpoint, I talked a friendly convenience store owner out of a pack of Marlboro Reds.
Nice.
Then I had a check for like $65. And this is, you got to remember, this is like 1991, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, security things were not that, it was like, oh, you can't, third-party check. Oh, no. So I figured maybe I could sign it over to somebody and they could give me some money. $65 was like, okay. Like there's some a little bit of money back then.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't know if I could get any kind of ticket with it, but I was like, I can at least eat.
yeah,
And I figured like I figured that the best way to travel would be to go from truck stop to truck stop. Because if you're just standing by the road holding out your thumb, right?
yeah,
They don't get a chance to sort of vet you, and you don't get a chance to vet them. You have to like make a snap decision when the car stops.
yeah, yeah.
And if you're in a truck stop, even if you're hitching rides with cars, trucks, whatever, you get to meet the driver. You can talk. You can see like who is this person. So it seemed
Well,
like
also, truck drivers are usually driving through. They're not usually part of that community directly. You know what I mean? So they probably wouldn't know about the program. You know what I mean? Or they'd be less likely.
or you could even straight up tell them and be like, "I'm running away from a fucking prison camp."
Yeah, yep.
Oh, okay, cool.
Probably yeah.
And they were like I said, it was 1991. Like people had different like ways of relating to each other back then that are kind of not considered correct now or whatever.
Yeah.
I had one bad run-in with one trucker. I mean, the first ride I got was to Seattle, a truck stop in Seattle, and then I just got a ride straight down. But I guess I almost got like sexually violated or whatever on the way to Seattle. And I was a virgin, like totally a virgin at the time. I didn't, I mean, it was like, tried to get me to give him head, and I'm just like, like, no, absolutely not. And I got really freaked out, and I hit him. We were at the truck stop already.
Yeah.
I got really freaked out, and I hit him, and he gave me like a $50 bill and pushed me out of the cab.
Oh, wow. Okay. So he's like, okay, you're going to do this, and I'm just going to pay you off.
I didn't blow him. I'm like, okay, was it $50 to keep my mouth shut, or an apology, or whatever. I was like, okay, that's cool. And then I found these two Mexican brothers that were going all the way down California. And they were like, well, if you give us some money for like, food and gas, yeah, dude, totally. Not a problem. We sleep in shifts. Do you drive a truck? No, not at all. I didn't have a driver's license, but they were cool, and they, did not attempt to molest me at all. And so we ate like bologna sandwiches and fucking went to California. I first went to my mom and dad's house because I thought they were still there, but they were not. They had moved to Minnesota in the interim. So that was kind of frustrating because I got there and nothing was there. Like, the house had been sold and there was nobody there. So I kicked the back door in and slept in there anyway because, familiarity or whatever. And then I got in touch with my friend Dan down in San Juan Bautista, which is a little ways south of where I lived. And he was like, a little older, maybe like a year older. He was like 15, 16. And his mom, he's blind. He's been blind his whole life. But his mom had moved to Hawaii to be with her new girlfriend at the time and left him in her house. Oh, nice. And this is like my best friend in the world. So he was like, yeah, we got you. Come be here. I remember San Juan Bautista is basically where all my like good friends lived. And I remember, I mean, it still touches me to even think about it. My friend Aaron, his mom was like, where have you been? What happened to you? And I told her everything. And she picked up the phone and called my mom and just railed on her, dude. Just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? What are you fucking dead inside? Like, who does this? And I was like, holy shit, dude. I got to thank her for it. Like, just tell her like it mattered to me. Like, I don't know, like in 2007 or something, like when I was like in my 30s.
Yeah.
I just was like, wow, dude. It was like validation. You feel me? Like,
yeah, definitely.
It was like it meant something. That really meant something to me.
Definitely.
But yeah, so I basically like I was welcome there, but I started to realize like how sort of twisted my head had gotten. Like I remember like my friend Aaron had a jar full of quarters. You got to understand like that. It's like the stupidest, shittiest kind of stealing in the world, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if I asked him for him, I could have had him, dude.
Yeah.
He would have given them to me. Like, yeah, absolutely. You need some money? Take some change. Whatever. He didn't care. But I'm like sneaking them from him. Like I'm like putting all these bundles of quarters in my clothes pocket.
Because that's how we were taught. We were taught that we had to be sneaky and get away with it, or right. Not do it at all.
I was trying to protect myself against future disaster, with the guy who was trying to protect me from future disaster.
Yep.
It didn't make any sense, you know. I mean, and I felt really, I apologized. I realized it, and I was, I'm sorry, dude. I shouldn't have done that. Then they were all really like forgiving and understanding and non-judgmental. They were like, "You've been through hell, bro. Like, you know, it's a really big deal." So they were all cool. I got a job in a little. I was my first job ever in a little fucking Mexican restaurant. The lone busboy for like 120 table fucking outdoor Mexican restaurant in San Juan Bautista, and you know, I think I made like $3.25 an hour or something like that. Was a long time ago. But you know, I was, you know, getting money or a little bit of money, or like, you know, I could feed myself and buy cigarettes and whatever. And then I remember fucking like this girl that I had been like sort of, you know, sweet on while I was in like up in Idaho. She had left when she turned 18. She was like, I'm not doing this shit for a minute more. Just fucking got her shit and left, and they couldn't do anything about it when you turned 18. Mm-hmm. So I got in touch with her. I got her number, and this is back when you could like pick up the phone and like call information, and they had somebody's fucking phone number. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I called her up, and she was like, "You should come out here." I was like, "Okay, just let me get my shit together on a bus ticket, and I will do just that." So I did. You know, bus ticket was like $120. I was like the whole paycheck, but whatever. You know, I mean, I quit the job, got on the bus, told my friends goodbye. You know, went out there. And it was fucking so weird. Like, okay, so her dad was the CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield, Alabama.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, like, so they had quite a bit of money. Her mom, you know, God rest her soul, she passed away a while back. She really liked me, like, as a person, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, because I wasn't I'd never had a, like, actual girlfriend before. You know, like, and Bree was a little older than me, but whatever. So I showed up like at the bus station. Bree picked me up at the bus station. I'm like wearing some Army surplus coat, combat boots, like in the frame of mind, like I'm completely out of money. But if you know anywhere in Birmingham, Alabama, that I can donate plasma, we can eat tonight. And she's like, my mom gave us $1,000 and told us to go to Disneyland, or not Six Flags up in Atlanta. Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, that all right. That sounds better than donating plasma.
Yeah.
So it was pretty sweet, man. Like, you know, we really got along. It was genuine rapport. I wasn't planning or intending to use anybody for anything. And it wasn't like a take advantage thing. Like, I still love Bree. Dude, Bree's amazing. It was in touch. Like, and it was a good time. At some point, we heard through the grapevine. I cannot really remember how we heard, but I think through Bree's. Because Bree's mom was like, we should tell your mom, like, that you're okay. You know, like, at that point, I hadn't really called my parents at all.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, that would be a really fast way to get caught.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I mean, if they really cared where I was, they probably wouldn't have sent me there.
Yeah.
I didn't really feel like I owed them anything, you know?
Yeah.
But she called my mom and was like, vague. She was, you know, vague about, you know, where I was, and I was doing fine. I wasn't bringing any trouble to anybody. And I guess she heard from my mom probably that Ben, my best friend at the school, had been on full time since I had left, for the simple reason that they assumed we had been on bans for like a year at that point. Like, bans is where you can't talk to them or look at them, or give them in any way. But they assumed I had told him that I was leaving, and that he hadn't told staff. Yep. I deliberately did not. I considered saying goodbye to him when I left, but I was just like, that would just put him in a terrible position. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I remember just sitting there, like, realizing, like, what I had, like, I mean, by default, this is what I'd done to, like, my best friend.
You felt guilty.
And I was enraged. I didn't feel guilty.
Yeah.
I felt fucking pissed.
Yeah.
You guys are, because at that point, it had been like coming on 3 months.
Yeah.
3 months of full time every day. I mean, your brain turns to mush, bro. It's not, I can't even, I mean, I did it full time once for 6 weeks, which is long-ish, but 3 months?
Yeah.
Fuck no. And they were going to keep him on until he admitted that he had known that I was leaving, and he did not. So until he lied, he was stuck.
Yeah.
I was like, so I just turned real, like, we have to go get him. Can you get another $1,000 from your mom, and can we not go to Six Flags? I was like, yeah, probably. And like within a day, we were in our Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme driving to fucking Bonners Ferry, Idaho from Birmingham, Alabama.
And what happened when you got there?
Well, we waited till night, and then I was like, Bree, like, just pretty much have the car running on the road, man, because I don't know how this is going to go. And I took, you know those, it's like a piece of wood with a metal end. You use it to check the pressure of truck tires.
Yeah, yeah.
I had grabbed one of those at a truck stop on the way up there, and fucking, like, I had a walkie-talkie connected to Bree in case, if whatever, and I just snuck onto the campus at around, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I went to where his bunk used to be, and he was still in it, and I was like, Ben, Ben, wake up. And there was a guy named Justin Morgenthaler that was in the bed, that was in the same dorm that everybody, he was a douchebag, and everybody kind of hated on him. And he's like full volume, go to bed, Morgan Failure. And I'm like, Ben, shut the fuck up. It's John. He's like, bullshit. And I turned this flashlight on my face really quick. He's like, oh my God. I was like, dude, your ride's here. It's time to fucking go. And he just thought he was so fucking out of it from like full timing or whatever. He thought he was hallucinating. Like he didn't think like it was real, or that if it was real, that it was like a trap, and they had sent me in there to trick him into splitting so they could fuck with him some more.
Yeah. I
was just like, no, dude, this is real. He's like, I can't. I remember saying, I've grown so much in my program, and I just, I don't know if I should leave right now. I'm like, motherfucker, you are leaving. You are leaving. You're not staying here. It's just fucking bullshit. I will take you anywhere in the continental United States you want to go, but we're going now. I was like, he was like, I don't know. I'm like, let's just go to the Safeway or whatever in town, drink a Coke, smoke a cigarette, think about it. I figured if I could get him off campus, he would stay.
Yeah.
So on the way out, and when I had all my musical instruments there too, because I didn't take them when I left. So I walked up into the main house, kicked in the music room door, took my mandolin and my fucking guitar and my violin, and fucking took them with. One of the dudes that I knew named Rod Barkley saw me on the way out, and I took his walkie-talkie from him. I was like, yeah, give me that. I was like, don't make me hit you, Rod. I mean, there's no reason for that. I don't want to hit you. He's like, I don't want to get hit. Because I was holding the thing. I was like, I'll just leave this, walkie-talkie up by the end of the road as we go, and you don't call anybody, man. Just don't do it, dude. You don't have to do this. Nobody will ever know that we had this conversation unless you tell them, And then we booked it. We just ran. Bree had the car going, and we fucking drove like 90 miles an hour towards the Washington border, dude.
Nice.
Yeah, we got away. I mean, we actually had a lot of fun. Like, it was fucking like one of my favorite road trips. And I used to be a touring musician, so I've been in a car with people that I'm like ostensibly friends with a lot. Like at one point, this is one of my favorite road trips ever. Like we, drove over fucking like that mountain pass into California and everything. And yeah, dude, like I remember we raced. We were driving this the Oldsmobile, and Ben had like not been to the ocean before because he was from Chicago, and it was pretty sweet. We had a super good time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Like, so I don't know. He wanted to go to Kingman, Arizona, because that's where his mom was. And his mom had not had anything to do with putting him there. It was kind of his dad's deal. His mom, like, fixed up shit houses and flipped them. That was her whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so I took him to Kingman, and in Kingman, it was weird. I mean, I didn't, like, exactly expect a hero's welcome, because all kinds of people were sure to say all kinds of shit about me at that point. The other irony is that I was the youngest person in the party, kind of. Ben was like 17, maybe 16, 17. Bree was like pushing 19 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was me, and I was like 15, or like I was in the process of turning 16. Like it was right around like my birthday at that point. So I was just turning 16. So we took Ben to his mom's house as requested, and Ben, like a brainwashed idiot, although like not talking shit, love him very much, called his dad, and his dad called my mom, and my mom called the cops.
Damn.
So as we were leaving, I remember Bree and I were trying to decide, what do we do now? Our mission is accomplished. We have succeeded against all odds. Should we go back to Alabama? Back to California? We didn't know. And we're just sitting there, and I don't remember exactly the tarot cards she drew, but she drew the tarot card like whichever one says, get the fuck out of there right now.
Yeah.
And like 3 minutes later, like I went to a Circle K to get some orange juice, and all of a sudden I'm like down on the ground and they're putting like handcuffs on me. So then I went to juvie, like, and they threatened to charge Bree with like contributing to the delinquency of a minor, but I guess like nobody was especially supportive of that.
Yeah.
So none of the parental units wanted that to do that, and like her dad has more money than God, had more money than God, so it didn't seem like that was gonna fly. So she just got told to go home, but she hung around like waiting to see if I was gonna get out, which was ridiculous. Like especially in retrospect, there's no way they're we'll just release a 16-year-old on bail, and no, that's not happening. So they put me in juvie in Kingman for about 3 weeks. I've never been incarcerated before per se. And that was a very interesting experience. My cellmate was in there for fucking stabbing his sister like 30 times with a flathead screwdriver. I was like, I literally asked him, what is wrong with you? And he's just like, I don't know, man. I like think, in retrospect, what a shit move, right? But I just snapped, and I was like, holy fuck. You don't have a screwdriver in here. Don't snap on me, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my God, And then they were really fucking brutal to the kids in there. Like I remember this one kid was freaking out because he was cold, right? Like he was like in the solitary cell aside from on the other side of the hallway from our cell. They fucking wrapped this kid in his own bed sheet, hogtied him, and like hit him with a hose, dude. Like a spray. Like now you're fucking cold, dude. I was like, damn. It's fucking brutal. This kid's like fucking 15, same age as me, dude. Like, he didn't do nothing but complain. That's all he did to get that,
What state was this in?
Arizona.
Okay. I've heard juvie's pretty hectic. In comparison to Rocky Mountain, which would you say was easier?
Easier?
Yeah.
I would say that juvie was easier. And the reason I would say dude, I've been to San Quentin. San Quentin was easier too.
Yeah.
Like fucking like classification. Fucking, it was easier. Like where you're because they're not interested in your fucking the contents of your head or your heart. They're not trying to mold you into being something else other than you are. They're just like, we have a mandate from the state to keep you in this box with a lock on it until the state says let you go. That's it. There's nothing. It's not personal. They're not fucking with you for like, if you fuck with them, they'll fuck with you back. But if you just, eat your shit food and go to your shit cell and fucking sit there and, just do what they're not going to fuck with you unnecessarily. Why? It's not personal. They don't hate you.
Yeah.
It's just their job.
Yeah, they didn't get this job. They didn't get this job because they like breaking apart people. You know what I mean?
Right. No, they're just keepers of the body. The contents of the mind, even as a child, that's your business. They're not interested in that. So which I really appreciate. I could see taking a job where, I can understand why a person would take a job keeping people that are supposedly a threat to society or something locked up.
Yeah.
As long as you're not gratuitously mean to them, it's just a job like any other. Someone's got to do it. Why not you?
Yeah.
And when they start fucking with your head, then I'm just like, what is your motivation here?
Yeah.
Like, what is your motivation? So after that, they had this bounty hunter dude come get me. And he was going to take me to SUS, School of Urban and Wilderness Survival, in southern Idaho. Idaho being a recurring theme.
From juvie. From Juvie, you were going to go there.
From Juvie to Seuss, yeah.
Okay.
So basically, I remember he took me to the Vegas airport from Kingman, and we got on a plane. He was playing like slots while we were waiting for the plane, and he put in like $100, and he got up to like 300, and he kept playing. I'm like, you're gonna lose it, bro. Like, and he did. He lost every fucking dollar. I was like, nah, and that pissed him off. So he was addicted to me the rest of the way. But we got to the fucking airport in Boise, I guess it would have been, probably. I don't really remember the airport part, but I remember Survival. Everybody that I know is calling me at the same time. That's weird. So I was like, all right. Survival was also easier than fucking Rocky Mountain Academy because they were not fucking with your head there either. They were just like, we're going to be walking about 30 miles a day on about 300 calories. Get used to that and you're golden.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
Nothing else mattered. Like, they didn't care. I mean, you had to go 5 days without swearing and, start the fire with a fucking bow drill and flint and steel and build little deadfall traps. And I actually kind of like, I mean, I was mad about it. I was like, what the fuck is this? But then I was like, these people are just making me harder to kill.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I no longer fear the outdoors, I guess. Although, like, it did sort of instill this this lack of. I hate camping, dude. I that was my first experience ever camping. My parents were not outdoorsy people, so my first fucking experience sleeping outdoors was Seuss. And as a result, like people I remember, like, years later, this girl did, let's go camping. I'm like, let's fucking not, and say we did. Nature will kill you. No, that's not recreational. That's in case of emergency.
Yeah.
That's just always been my relationship to it since then. I'm not big on the outdoors or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I feel it.
Yeah, it was cool. It was all right. I mean, I finished the course on time. Well, I remember we walked probably about 300 miles. And there was a solo at the end of it. I was in, I guess, the best shape of my life ever. Like, I'm kind of old and fat now, but when that was over, I was fucking,
Yeah. Yeah, I attended a wilderness too, so I totally feel that. Did you, when you left the wilderness, were you done with programs?
Well, not exactly. They were, my parents were like, so do you want to go back to Rocky Mountain Academy? I was like, if you take me back there, I will leave again. And you have just taught me how to make sure that you will never see or hear from me again. I will live in the fucking woods until I turn 18. I'm not going back there.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, and that was that.
Okay.
Like, I'd paid my dues or whatever.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then like life kind of started, and it was not good, man. It was not good or easy or, like I've had a pretty, it's been kind of difficult, overarchingly, I would say. I don't ever know, like, I don't really feel comfortable blaming, like, Rocky Mountain Academy for it, because there are so many other weird circumstances, like atypical circumstances in my life, like the being homeschooled, like sort of being like, kind of like trapped with my mom, my dad mostly like away. He was an engineer, so he was like, designing hard drives and shit. Like, my mom and I just didn't get along for a very long time. I mean, we still, like, if we were to hang out in the same space, and I mean, she doesn't fuck with me. I turned 50 years old a week ago. Like, it's not like a, but I mean, there's been a real, like, and I mean, I noticed this with a lot of people, like, I mean, failure to launch maybe, or like, I mean, I got jobs, I've made money, I've done a lot of crazy things over a lifetime I'm not even going to get onto here.
Mm-hmm.
But I just didn't, like, any normal adolescence or normal early adulthood or normal anything ever, really, just never came to pass, man. And I have a brother and a sister that are also adopted. My brother's fucking firefighter, and my sister was a cop. Mm-hmm. And then there's me, like, multiple felony convictions, and, just kind of like indigent and bitter and brooding all around the United States, like trying a million different things and none of them really sticking for super long, really.
Yeah.
It was weird, man. Like, I came back and I don't know, you know anything about Minnesota? You know anything in Minnesota? You ever been there?
I've never been there. No.
All right. Well, in 1991/2, it was a majority white place. Okay, you gotta understand, my parents are white. Like, my dad's Eastern European, my mother's like hardcore Western European, like 100% like English Irish. She got a 23andMe done, but white, glows in the dark. My dad, a Slav, whatever. And then there's me, which, I look kind of like my dad in the face, but like in terms of like racial whatever, I never really fit in with white people in a certain way, and my mom's always like steadfastly denied that this exists or that this is happening. And I get it because it's not happening to her, like, but it was weird. Edina, Minnesota, it was like a suburb of Minneapolis where all the rich people live. Compared to the Bay Area, it's super cheap. So, I mean, they bought their house in California before the whole Silicon Valley boom, like in 1983, 84.
Back when you could actually buy a house.
Well, yeah, I think they paid $110,000 for like a 3-bedroom ranch home with 2.5 acres.
Yep, there you go.
And then they sold it about 10 years later, maybe a little less than 10 years. Less than 10 years later. They sold it 6 or 7 years later. They put in a pool. They spruced up the barn. They put in a little riding arena. They got horses. The whole nine. It was affordable as fuck back then. They sold it like in 1990 for what, 880,000, 900,000, something like that.
Wow.
So they had they had just like become real estate rich. Like they paid cash for every house they bought thereafter. Nice. They invested the balance. I mean, they became legit wealthy through that. And yeah, like my dad was also a very highly paid engineer. So they bought a house for cash in the richest suburb in Minneapolis, and that's where I arrived at after Seuss.
Okay.
I didn't have any friends. My brother and sister and I had never really been super close. They used to fuck with me when I was a kid, and it was not, we separated kind of when my sister was a year younger than me, so she would have been 13. My brother was 5 years younger than me, so he would have been, what, like 8 or 9?
Mm-hmm.
And so we didn't really have a relationship anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, oh, John's a fucking troubled youth, like, well, fuck him, kind of. And my mom was like, you want to go to high school? I was like, okay. So she enrolled me in my senior year at Edina High School. And that was fucking ludicrous. When I showed up at RMA, I had smoked pot twice. Like, that was the extent of my drug use. I'd smoked marijuana 2 times with my friends in San Juan Bautista, day in and air.
Yeah.
And, it was almost like a spiritual experience. We had a lot of fun. We all played music. We did some of that. It was pretty cool. And, but I didn't really know anything about any of the drugs. But I knew I liked pot. And there were some kids in the high school that had pot.
Yeah.
And you got to understand, these people were all like super, like, rich kids, kind of. And I was like, okay, what? I mean, fucking the stupidest fucking people. They all wore the same, like, uniform, except it wasn't a uniform, really. It was like, okay, so what everybody wore was like a pair of these Jabot jeans, like this brand, and then like name a sports team or a little polo alligator here, right? And then braided hippie belt, and then like leather like casual boating shoes type of shit.
That sounds like the 90s.
Yeah, and that was them. Like, and I was like, picture of fucking metal band or punk band here, fucking, ripped jeans, Air Force jump boots, jacket or trench coat. Like, that was me. So They were like, "Oh my God, who the fuck is that guy?" kind of thing. Like, what the hell? And I was kind of like, "Fuck you! Like, you can't imagine what I've been through. Leave me alone." So people mostly did. There were like 6 or 7 cool people in the entire school, and we sort of nodded to each. That's how loners are. They always think it's going to be them and the other loners against the world, but it's always all the loners are by themselves, just kind of socially acknowledging themselves across this great expanse. But I figured out how to get some weed. I realized at that point that I had sort of like physically matured and that I had probably added like easily 75 pounds of muscle since I got sent to RMA. Like I was actually like physically an adult. So nobody fucked with me. I remember the high school coach, the football coach was like, he saw me walking, as a fat 50-year-old, I'm like 300 pounds, 6'4", whatever. And I was like, 220 pounds, 6'4" back then. So, it was pretty funny. The coach is like, "You!" I'm like, "What? Do you play football?" I'm like, "Absolutely not. I do not. I know nothing of football, nor do I care to learn." He finally talked. He was like, "Well, yeah, it would help you make friends." And I'm like, "Okay." I was like, I'm not trying out for varsity or any of that.
Yeah,
goofy ass like Friday Night Lights bullshit.
Yeah.
But I'll play intramural fucking, okay. And I tried. He finally was like, "Don't touch the ball. If you see the ball coming towards you, unless it's being held by a player on the opposing team, you run away from it. Do not attempt to touch the ball." Because every time I did, I just fucked it up. My job is hitting them. That's what you do. And that was cool in a way because it was like a way to get aggressive. I could hit these people as hard as I wanted to, and as long as I didn't make a fist, as long as I didn't hit them, it was fine. It was good. Yeah. So I was like, I fucking broke ribs, dude. It was amazing. Like,
probably good fucking emotional relief, dude.
Yeah, it was
fucking,
Yeah, it was a release. Like I could actually hurt people after school, and it was totally fine. So I kind of enjoyed that, but that didn't last long either. My mom, this weird thing happened where my mom, I came home one day. I mean, I was smoking weed, and I bought my first electric guitar working this after-school job at this restaurant. And I was trying to get more into the guitar thing. I quit violin and I played violin for like 14 years or something. I quit playing covers by dead guys and started trying to write my own music and record it. But so I come home one day and my mom is like, "I need to talk to you about something." And I'm like, "Okay, what? What's up?" And she's like, "What's that white powder on the recording deck in your room?" And I mean, to this day, bro, I have like no motivation to lie. Like, I've done a metric ton of powder drugs since then.
Yeah.
Whatever. But dude, I have no idea. I was like trying to guess. I was like, laundry detergent maybe? I mean, I really don't know. She's like, "I took it to the police station and had them tested." And I'm like, "And?" They said it was cocaine. And I just burst out laughing. I'm like, "Cocaine? Okay, cocaine is super expensive, and I don't know where to get any." Like, no, it just absolutely is not cocaine. They lied to you. They pretended they tested it and just were like, "I'm sure it's cocaine. Your son is in real trouble." I'm like, fucking whatever. And to this day, my mom does not believe that it was not cocaine. To this fucking day. Like, I was like, okay, whatever. But then she was like, "I'm worried. You're a drug addict." And I'm like, "No, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, no." So she just like started doing that whole like controlling. I was too big to push around at this time. Like, there's no way she could actually physically dominate me. I remember she tried kind of once. Like, she started flipping out and yelling at me about some shit. I was like, "I'm fucking out of here." I just headed for the door. She blocked it like this. Like, she like picked her up, put her over here. That was that. I was like, "No, that's not happening." So she realized that there wasn't like a whole lot she could do about it. And I was really angry. Like, I mean, I remember walking around for like a couple months there. And I mean, it just happened at different times, like where I would just have this lump of rage right here in my throat. Like, if I was awake, dude, it didn't go away. Like, it was just there all the time. Like, I remember being like a millimeter from hitting somebody all the time. I mean, like, I think about it now. Like, I've had, fucking 35 years to calm down or whatever. Like, I couldn't live like that again. Like, I'm really amazed that I didn't actually like seriously hurt somebody. I was so angry all the time. And the fucked up thing is like, so she had been my quote unquote teacher forever, right? Because she's like the teacher at the homeschool or whatever. So she went back to the fucking office at Edina High School. This is like right before senior prom, right? And she re-enrolled me as a junior.
What?
Yes, that was my reaction. My response was, according to Minnesota state law, I can drop out of school at 16, and you can't do anything about it. So I went back to school and dropped out. I was like, I'm done. I'm not playing this fucking reindeer game. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, like what? I had a date for prom, believe it or not. And I was like, fuck this. So I called Bree up in Alabama. I was like, hey, I'm kind of being encouraged to leave here. What are you doing these days? And she's like, totally, come back. I love you. I miss you, whatever. So I went down there, and that was pretty much, I attempted to return home briefly, like to my parents, a couple of times over the next 20 years, but it never lasted for more than about a week without going Nova. Like, my mom and I do not get along in close quarters. Like, even now, like, if I go back to Santa Cruz, you know, to visit or whatever, like, I don't stay with my mom.
Yeah.
Like, I get a friend's house or get a hotel or sleep in my car if necessary, but I can't. Like, I've sworn I'll never again spend the night under, like, the same roof as my mom. Like, it's a commitment. There's some shit that happened later on in life. Just not safe, dude. Just not safe. Nothing, you know? Like,
well, it's just your boundary, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just declared a healthy boundary, you know what I mean? And it's there for a reason, you know what I mean? So
yeah, well, I got plenty of reasons, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's nothing, maybe, you know, it's probably nothing personal directly against her. It's just like, you can't personally be around that, you know what I mean?
Like, something I've realized, man, is like none of us can really help who or what we are, kind of at a very basic level.
Yeah,
like, she's a control freak, and she's highly educated, and that level of education gives her the feeling that she knows better than everybody else. I understand that. I feel that way all the time around people. I mean, I just don't. I mean, I can sometimes even be controlling. I just usually don't do it as directly and invasively.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
trying to micromanage your life.
Yeah, like, I mean, my background is really, like, when I think about it, is I can barely run my life. I have no business trying to run yours.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah.
I'm just not. I don't have the bandwidth for it.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, yeah, that's just her deal, and that's who she is. And, you know, I mean, I love. There's a lot of really great things about her. Later in life, she really had my back about some things. You know, she really had my back about some things later on. And I've, like, officially, like, in my head, I'm like, she redeemed herself by a couple of things she did that she did not have to do.
Yeah.
Like, later on. So we're cool. Like, it's forgiven, whatever. But there's still that personality trait there. That's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And the less I have to interface with it, the better, I guess, you know, for both of them.
So have you lived with Bree since then? Is that where you live now? Or
My God, no. Not at all.
No?
No, that was long ago and far away, man. No, Bree and I stayed together about a year and a half. We were going to get married, but I mean, there was a lot of. I mean, her family had a lot of money and whatever, and I guess I could have sort of like transitioned into being like a permanently kept sort of shitty boyfriend, even though I didn't realize like I was just like sort of a shitty, indigent, like freeloading boyfriend at the time. I didn't realize it. Like, I'd never been in that situation before. I had zero job skills. Like, my ability to support anything basically consisted of I could deliver pizza, like that, you know, I had a car I could use and I could carry pizza. That was like the height of unskilled labor. But it wasn't like a living, I couldn't support me and her on that and, you know, have an apartment, like support her in the style to which she had become accustomed. Or like that wasn't happening on pizza delivery salary. And so we were together about a year and a half. Then she ended up making out with some dude named Jim Fahakis at some movie theater or shopping mall or something. So I broke up with her. Like, in retrospect, I'm just like, really, dude? Like, who fucking cares? But, but at the time, it felt cataclysmic. And so I went back to Minnesota and got another shitty job and got an apartment. You know, like, that was the first time I tried to go back to my mom's house for, 5 days or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got my first own apartment that I could pay for. It was like, I think it's $280, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
So yeah, like a basement concrete studio apartment. Had an amazing shower though, all tile, hella water pressure, scalding hot. I'll remember that shower for the rest of my life. And I lived there, and I worked at this ice cream and popcorn shop, and yeah, and I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of shit here, man. And like I said, I just turned 50, so I might get some of it in the wrong order or remember some things like incorrectly. I just want to say as a disclaimer, like if I remember anything wrong and somebody that was actually part of it ever hears this or sees it, like I just want to say like this is my own memory and
Yeah.
like I mean I could be wrong. Like I mean I think I got the basics right. It's my life. But if I misrepresent somebody accidentally or whatever, like I apologize in advance. Like I'm not trying to mislead anybody about anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So at that point, I met the mother of my kid. I have a 30-year-old son.
Okay.
He's a fentanyl addict. He lives in a field on the outskirts of Santa Cruz by choice. Like, he doesn't have to be there. That's what he feels like he should be doing right now, so that's what he does. I tried like to get him into any number of other things, but my success was limited. And he said he doesn't want to do what anybody else wants him to do right now. He's just going to do him for a while. And I'm like, what? Fuck, you're 30 years old, man. Like, it's your life. I can't, I mean, it saddens me, but what can I do, right? So I met his mom during this period, and she was somewhat older. She was like 25, 6, 7, somewhere in there. I don't remember. But I got her pregnant. Like, she was a lesbian. That was the hilarious part. Like, I met her. Somebody was like, "This is Mandy. Mandy's a lesbian." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I mean, when somebody tells me like that they're a lesbian, I'm immediately like, "Well, that's not happening," like,
yeah.
That's not gonna happen. So I didn't really worry about it. Her mother had just died. I started supplementing the popcorn shop income with being a roadie because I knew a lot about music gear and sound from playing music, and I could lift heavy things because I was in the prime of my life, and it paid a lot better than popcorn and candy. So yeah. So I got home from this one job, and this girl that I actually had a crush on, Mandy's sister, called me up and said, "Yeah, our mom just died, and we have to move all the stuff out of out of her apartment because she's on Section 8, and they'll take it in like 24 hours if we can't get it out." So I was like, okay. So I went over there and helped move all this shit out, move it all in. And Mandy had 2 kids. She was on welfare, that whole deal. And I was like, okay. Like, I fucking, like, did the dishes, took the kids to the park, fucking after I moved the shit. I was, their mom just died. I would never hit on somebody whose mom just died. That's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. So I mean, and I missed the last bus home. I didn't have any kind of car at this time. So she was like, you can sleep on the sleep on the couch if you want. I'm like, cool. I don't even take my belt off. I just want to sleep on the couch. Woke up in the morning, took the bus, found out I'd been fired from the popcorn job for not showing up for the morning shift because I was 3 hours away by bus. I was like, fuck it. I didn't really like that job anyway. Went back over to Mandy's house a couple days later, see how she's doing. Do the dishes, take the kids to the park, kick out the crazy next door neighbor, and just missed the bus again. And Mandy's like, "Oh, you can sleep in the bed if you want." Again, lesbian, right?
Yeah.
Not even gonna take off my belt. He's like, "I appreciate it, whatever." Take my boots off, lay down, and I wake up. I'm like, I guess we're having sex now. So, okay. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it. So we fucked like rabbits for like a week and a half, and then never had sex again. She got pregnant, which I guess was the objective. But I didn't know that. I mean, it's amazing. Like, if you think back on when you're, like, super young, I wasn't quite 19 at this point. So it was like, it never occurred to me to ask how a lesbian had 2 kids.
Yeah.
I wasn't really, I wasn't really exploring that mentally. It didn't occur to me that this had been done 2 times before. You know, like,
Yeah.
so,
It's just sex with a purpose.
yeah.
Sex with a purpose behind it.
You know, and I don't really resent it. My son does. He constantly talks about how much he hates being alive. I'm like, well, you know, I'm sorry. Like, I mean, I don't have any other kids. I learned. I don't know what to tell you, bro. I was super young. You've done some dumb shit too.
Yeah.
But you know, she became just like a complete. Because I mean, I was super naive, man. I was like, I guess I'm gonna be a dad, you know. So I start looking around for a shitty. I mean, the roadie thing paid okay, but it wasn't constant. It wasn't like constant income.
Yeah.
You're like, I gotta get a job and like, you know, go every day, and I didn't know what else to do, dude. I didn't do drugs at this point at all, really. Like I smoked weed. I'd done acid a few times. That's it. So I got a job at some Chinese restaurant washing dishes. Lasted a day. Not Chinese. Not Mexican. Get the fuck out. You don't belong here. Okay. And then my friend Ben, who had gotten off full time, graduated from RMA, gone through all the gone back to Kingman. I was like, you could have just done that, not fucking like dry snitched me out to your fucking dad, dude.
Yeah.
But whatever. You know, I still love you. Like, so he's like, hey, why don't you come down here? I got an apartment. I got this going on. Like, his whole family lives in Kingman, so it was cool. I'm like, yeah. So me and Mandy and her 2 kids load up this fucking Dodge Tradesman that I bought for like $500 and drove it all the way to Kingman. And Mandy there successfully and convincingly demonstrated her lack of ability to get along with others. Like, Ben was being he's my best friend. He's being super cool. Like, I'll help you out. I'll help you get a job. You can stay here as long as you need to. Like, I don't think he wanted to live with 2 kids and Mandy, but he was like, it's cool. It's not an issue. And she was just a fucking cunt to his girlfriend. And his girlfriend had this thing where, like, she was, like, literally allergic to alcohol. I know in AA, they say, we have an allergy of... No. Fuck your metaphor. This bitch was allergic to alcohol. Like, if she drank the neck of a beer, she became psychotic. Like,
yeah, I know a few people like that. Yeah.
Fucking psychotic. Beer. No way she could have been drunk. It had to be an allergy. So, man, you was being a fucking bitch to her all the time in her house, and then she would, like, you know, it was like Popeye eating spinach, dude. You know, she fucking hit the thing and fucking unleashed on Mandy. So there was like this constant, like, you know, thermonuclear conflict between our girlfriends. And Ben took me aside after like, you know, a month of this and was like, dude, okay, so you're cool. I don't have a problem with you. You can be here. You're chill. The bitch and the kids got to go, man. Like there's that I can't do it anymore. Like there's no wall that doesn't have holes. There's no sheetrock that doesn't have holes in it. Like I'm worried that somebody's gonna stab me in my sleep. Like this isn't gonna work. And I was so stupid that I was like, all right, well I got to go with him, man. Like she's pregnant with my kid, bro. Like I appreciate what you've done for us. Thank you. So I met a couple other people in Kingman at this point. So we parked the Dodge Tradesman with the 2 kids in it in the driveway of an Airstream trailer belonging to my friends Jake and Lanty, whose last names I don't remember. I wouldn't say even if I did. That was literally the lowest point that I can think of in my free life, in my life that wasn't incarcerated. That's as bad as it got. I met Timothy McVeigh briefly during this period also. As like just a trivia thing. I met him at a barbecue. But yeah, so there was that kind of thing though. Like I was living in like a mobile home park in a van in the driveway of it. Yeah. So I had a job. The only job I could get in this town was at Little Caesars. Again, pizza. They don't deliver, so I had a job as the morning dough guy. Okay, and I was literally getting like I don't know, $60 paychecks for a week or something like that. Like there was no way. I mean, we were just losing it. And Mandy was like coming into her 8th month of pregnancy, and one day I came back from being dough guy, and she and the kids were gone, just gone. And I was like, "Where did you go?" Again, not really grokking what the fuck was up at that point. I was like concerned. I was like, "Did anybody see where they?" No, nobody knew where they went. And then a sheriff shows up, like as the sun's going down, and is like, well, to arrest me for domestic abuse. Now, I'm not going to lie, dude. We got into some screaming matches. But I never punched her in the face or anything like that. much as I wanted to.
Yeah.
I wanted to hit her so bad sometimes, but I didn't. There was a couple times where I even punched walls on either side of her head, but I never fucking, I did not hit her.
Yeah.
And he was there to arrest me for false imprisonment and domestic abuse. And I was just like, false imprisonment? Domestic abuse? Did you see a mark on her, bro? I was like, well, no. I'm like, well, you look at me, bro. Like if I hit that woman, there would be a mark. You would have some evidence of me hitting her. You don't have that, do you? No, I guess not. What's the false imprisonment? She said you locked her in the van. I'm like, locked her in the van? Dude, how do you lock an adult in a vehicle without duct taping them to the seat? Did she mention duct tape? No. What are you doing here? I guess so like he didn't arrest me, he went away, but long story short, she had just decided that it was like she was done fucking with this and she was out. And she found an adoption broker in San Diego, where I am now pretty much, and basically traded the kid for 10 grand, all expenses paid for like a year. And
your kid.
Yeah. So yeah, I was not thrilled. I remember being deeply, darkly, cataclysmically depressed about this.
Understandably.
Yeah, I remember like just kind of waking up on the floor of the van. I left the driveway where I'd been and just kind of parked by the side of the road, and like I couldn't afford any intoxicants even. I like wake up and look around and be like, fuck, I'm still alive, and pass back out again. I tried to kill myself by trapping myself in a hot car, but apparently that's not really possible. If you're conscious, you like will go for air, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
But that was like that was as close as I could come to a method to kill myself that I could afford. I couldn't afford like an opiate overdose or a gun with a bullet in it or anything like.
Yeah.
Like I was too poor to die. That was bad. That was very bad. So yeah, man. I went back up to Minnesota. I didn't know what else to do. And this time I had at least the sense not to go back to my parents' house. I was like, that will probably not turn out differently than last time or the time before. So yeah, it was just, I mean, my whole life, but that's basically like, I mean, I got smarter by degrees. I became a drug dealer, like just because it made sense. Like the pain of losing my son, like gave me a motivation to get high and like sort of change like the way my brain felt in a way that I'd never really had before. Like I never needed to like escape before that in quite the way I needed to after. I guess
I understand that.
It's a fair way of putting it. I mean, yeah. So, yeah, there was that. I started dealing drugs. I decided to go back to California. You know Matthew Rush?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's an Army guy. Me and a friend of his named Jeremy Blank put together a little project where we were going to bring decent hallucinogenics to the Midwest and had some adventures. The specific nature of which I won't get into because it involves other living people that I know. But I mean, the statute's long expired, and I doubt they would care. But you get the idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was that. That ended badly. It was weird. We randomly met each other. We were both from RMA. It's a weird. First time that ever happened to me was Matt. Weird thing, dude. Weird feeling. Because like you ran into somewhere from your place. It's probably the same thing. Where like it's like having been in a war, isn't it? Like you fought in a war with this person. They're like you were in the same army. Like you don't need to talk about any of it because you both get it.
Yeah,
right?
you feel it. You feel it in your bones. You know that shit.
Like they know. You know get it. So there's nothing really to discuss. Exactly. You don't have to talk about anything with them, but you know that they're there with you.
Yeah.
It's a weird feeling. But I mean, it's also kind of, it's the closest thing to like an upside from all that shit. Like everybody that went to RMA, like honestly, like before, after, I don't fucking care. Like unless they've done something specific to me or like crossed me in some way that's very specific. Like I don't mean like emotionally, like snapped off at me and said some mean shit. Like whatever, I don't care about that. But if they actually done something to me, like there's a couple people where I'm like, okay, you're burned. I'm not talking to you or fucking with you anymore. But everybody else, dude, they're like my brothers and sisters. Like sure, like legitimately. Like if they called me out of nowhere, I would help them. Just based on that alone. Because somebody has to.
Yeah.
But probably nobody has.
Yeah.
Like if my life is any indication, so.
Yeah. What was the hardest part of being at Rocky Mountain Academy for you, and how did you deal with it when you were there?
The hardest part of it for me was, okay, like if somebody's getting all up in your face and screaming like vile shit at you, I mean, where I'm from, like my temperament, like that's a form of violence to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you're hitting me or threatening to attack me. So that was the first thing I kind of had to squash down, was like, fucking like Caroline Wolf is like, 2 inches, like spits getting on me. She's screaming the shit, but she doesn't really know anything about thinking she knows me, screaming offensive shit. I told her in the first rap I was in, I was like, I don't know who the fuck you think you are or who fucking raised you, where you're from, but when on my planet, when we do that shit to somebody, we're ready to fucking like hit somebody or be hit, dude. Like you're starting a fight. When you do that, you're starting a fight. And for you to say there's no violence here, you're breaking that. You're throwing that out the window when you position your face an inch from mine and start screaming. But this was rejected. That whole thing was rejected out of hand. So it was hard for me to not fly off the handle and punch people, first of all. And second of all, it was the emotional thing, like where I was expected to emote more or less on command about issues that they had decided was important, that I had, in some cases, no feelings about whatsoever. Like being adopted, I am not traumatized by being adopted. I really don't feel like I am. Like I like these are the only parents I've ever known. I was born in another country. I was born in Lebanon, man. I don't know. Like if I was to be in the same room with my birth parents, I doubt we could have a conversation. I don't think we speak the same language. Like there's really nothing. Like I'm just like, okay. Like, and I get it because I had a kid that was given up for adoption. Like, I mean, like sometimes that shit has to happen. Sometimes like you have no control over whether it happens or not. There was a war that just started in Lebanon when I was adopted. Okay, I don't hold that against you. It is what it is. Like, so I'm asking me like, 15 years later to just weep tears and fucking like stream snot and cry about it and fucking punch a pillow or whatever. No, man. Like it's just, that's not, I can do it, but it's not going to be real. So faking feelings that I didn't have was also like just functionally difficult.
Yeah.
And the whole hugging and smushing thing. I've been a very physically, like, I mean, I'm physically effective with like a couple of people at a time, right?
Yeah.
Maximum. Like really close friends, girlfriends, and that's it. The whole smushing or hugging or the whole like, sort of like creep all over me thing was, I've never really been like that with anybody, like casually. That was difficult also.
Okay.
But yeah, that was probably the hardest shit.
Okay. And if you you kind of answered this already, but have you tried talking to your parents about how this place affected you? And have they seen the program? Did you watch the program?
I watched part of it.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I tried a long time ago to explain it to my mom.
Okay.
She just dismissed it out of hand. Like, you fucking asshole. You don't understand what we went through to keep you there. Like, you don't understand what I went through to keep you there either. Like,
yeah.
But, like, it's much harder, I think, to get people to admit, like, they're your parents. They're supposed to be smarter than you, right? Yeah. Especially back then. To get them to admit that they were ripped off for 80 grand.
Yeah.
Is way not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, not only did they get ripped off, they were paying someone else to fuck you up. My mom is like, it's like papal infallibility, man. She doesn't make mistakes. She's always, it's okay. It's not even worth it's not even worth it at this point. I'll never try to explain that to her. It makes no difference. It changes nothing.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. If you could go back in a time machine and not go through Rocky Mountain Academy or the wilderness place, knowing what you know now, would you do it and why?
No, I would not change anything about my past. And the reason for that is that I actually like who I am now. I mean, not everybody feels that way about me, but I do. I like who I am. I've made my peace with the parts of it that are difficult to swallow for the most part. And I can't think of anybody I'd rather be, to be completely honest, as maybe situationally disadvantaged as I'll always be. It doesn't matter. I feel like I have a view of the world and a view of other people and a view of myself that very few people have. Like I'm able to like contemplate abstract and, think in a way that I don't know. I don't see much evidence of other people having whatever this ability is. And it makes me who I am. And I can't imagine trading this level of consciousness for a lower level on purpose, no matter what I had to go through to get it.
Okay.
And so, no, I would not. I mean, I would, if I saw the younger me about to go through everything all over again. I mean, I survived by chance, to be completely honest, man. Like, I'm amazed that I did. I should have died, stupidly, like, easily 50 times between, the age of 15 and the age of 50. Like,
I feel that.
Yeah. So, yeah, but no, okay. Experiences make us,
Okay. Looking back, what do you think would have helped you instead of being sent away?
I think that if my mother had been somewhat less of a if I had not lived in a closed totalitarian dictatorship, that would have been very helpful. Like there was a level of restriction and control that was just hard to fathom, like crazy shit. Like I remember when skin cancer was going to kill us all. Are you that old? Like the sun, and we have to put on like sunscreen and long sleeve shirts and hats and avoid the rays of the deadly. So my mom, because we're homeschooled, decided that it was going to kill us all. So like I said, she's like totally, Western European, like translucent skin. She's so white. And I was like, you might die of skin cancer, I guess, but I don't think that's. I think fate has something else in store for me. No, so she changed our schedule around, bro. We slept all day and worked on the farm at night for like months. We had no interaction with other people or the world at large unless it was asleep and it was dark, bro. Like
crazy.
That kind of shit. Like my mom there was so much we're just like, what the hell are you doing? Even my dad's way of dealing with it was just like raise his eyebrows, shake his head, and go back to work. Like he had a way out, which I envied him for, Like, yeah, that was not living in that situation would have been great. I think I might have turned out differently if things had not been like that.
Okay. And when you were there, did you witness or hear about any of the staff members grooming or any sexual abuse towards any of the students?
So I know that that things happened based on me being told about them. The only stuff I personally witnessed were inappropriate touching while fully clothed in public during these emotional outbursts that we were sort of coerced into having. Like it seemed at times like some male staff member in Iraq would go to all the trouble to make this 14-year-old girl break down so we could like rub her thigh. It was really weird. That's what it looked like anyway to me. Like I didn't. Did I witness any actual like, like sex? No, I didn't see that. But I believe it.
What kind of things were you told that were happening or that you heard?
I heard that Caroline Wolf had sex with a couple of students.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm sorry, I have to send this guy a message. I have to be somewhere tonight.
Okay.
It's bad. I apologize. but yeah, dude, like other than that, I didn't really hear anything. I heard some students had sex too, like with each other, but I don't think A, there's anything wrong with that. At
Yeah.
that age, and B, it was so long ago, I don't remember who or what or anything.
Okay.
But yeah, apart from that, not really. There were no drugs there, but I guess there were later. But when I was there were no drugs there that I knew of.
Okay. And did you ever go through a point in your life where you went through any hard drug addiction or alcoholism?
Yes. I'm not sure how honest to be here. Put it that way.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Okay. I'm just kind of curious if you did, because there seems to be a pattern of people that come out of these places that end up using hard drugs. So.
Okay, I'll get into detail about it. I mean, I don't know who's going to end up seeing this, but I suppose it doesn't really matter. Like, where can I ask you a question? Like, where is this?
It's going to be on YouTube, and it's going to be on Spotify.
Oh. All right.
I mean, but anything that you don't want in here, I can edit out. So you
can? Okay. So please edit like as appropriate what I'm about to tell you. So I want to be forthcoming and answer your questions.
Yeah,
I just don't do any damage to myself, you know.
Well, how about this? You can just tell me that off live.
Okay, cool. All right. All right.
So we're almost done with the interview. Is there anything else you want people to know about your experience, or anything else that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
Yeah, I do want to say one thing to parents thinking about sending their kid to a place like this. You're not necessarily incorrect. It will solve certain emergent problems. But in the long run, it will create more problems than it solves. I promise. Okay? You'll get them out of the house. You won't have to deal with their acting out anymore. You know, for one low monthly fee, to make your headache go away. I get it. But in the long run, you're creating more problems than you're solving. Find another way. That's just not the answer.
Okay. Okay. And is there anything else you want people to know about your experience, or is pretty much covered?
Shout out to everybody that was there with me when they were there with me, man. And shout out to all those that weren't and made it anyway, all right? That's all, you know. Life is long and hard. I don't know what else to say.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Like I tell everybody, if you ever want to do a part 2, if things come up after this interview that you remember, just write them down, like take some notes, and then we can do a part 2. I always invite people back for a part 2. So with that being said, thank you for coming on the show, and we will catch you guys later on the next one. Peace, guys.